Right, Vic, Greg, and Brian, it's a pleasure to have you back on the Pod City podcast. How you doing?
Doing well,
Excellent.
man.
Excellent.
Great to be here. Thanks for having us on.
Yep.
Greetings from
Thank you.
Colorado.
No, it's great to have you all back on the show. It's always great to connect with you guys. And before we just hit record, I just threw some topics out there, and well, I say we'll just kind of go from start to finish. Did did you want to? Do you guys want to go over the first topic? What you think about people not seeing the situation they're in. Sometimes I've worked with people in the past. I've been in a world of shit, and it's like they almost don't see it or don't see the solution to their situation.
Yeah.
Well, that is.
If we go alphabetically, I'll go first.
Yeah.
I don't know how that
I don't
works.
know how that works.
No.
Greg, Brian,
So
and Vic, yeah.
in class, Brian and I talk a lot about, from the Arcadia Cognitive perspective, about being overwhelmed by events or overcome by emotion. But what you're talking about precedes that. It's actually before that. And what happens is we're very linear of thought, and we can't hold focus for very long. So what happens is then all of a sudden somebody steps up to ask us a question, whether it's a scam or not, and all of a sudden we have to reboot and go, okay, where are we? What are we doing? Who is this person? And that level of insinuation and the surprise that comes with us, like I'll liken it to walking in to a store and you're having a chat with friends, and all of a sudden you walk through the threshold of the store and you forgot where you are for a minute and you get quiet. That's your brain saying, shut up for a minute and take a look around before you take another step. And then you go right back in with it. The best people on the face of the planet, other than cops, LE, first responders, are martial artists. Martial artists see the storm brewing well off, and then they start putting the convertible top up early. Most other people wander around until they bump into something like battling tops and then react to it. So that's what I would say to this one.
Yeah, and you're also you even said how can they not see the solution, but you got to wind that back, and if you don't realize that there's a problem, then you're not even going to be realizing what a solution could be. And you can't really see the forest through the trees when you're up close dealing with something all the time, and you're down and in, and like you said, you got all this shit going on. It doesn't all happen at once, right? So it starts with something small, maybe you had a rough upbringing, got in some trouble, then this, and then as they grow, now they got this. So their sort of baseline for what's normal is so far off that everything we do is a comparison, like, to some other experience or some known that we have. So that's sort of like our baseline. And so if you slowly over your lifetime have gone downhill, and now you're in and out of prison or can't keep a job or whatever, well, that's kind of, to you, that's almost normal, right? But you're so far off what is typical of a person or what they should be, but you don't even realize that because your normal is so far gone now. It's so different. So it's like you have to sort of recalibrate, be like, hey, do you see how far out of line you are? And they really can't, because they're like, well, what do you mean? I've been dealing with this stuff since I was 6 years old and got kicked out of school the first time, or whatever the situation is. But it starts there. And this is just how your brain is wired too. It's slow, subtle changes over time. It doesn't notice, right? It doesn't, and that's why, like, everyone's like, well, how could you not see this coming? It's like, well, this all didn't happen to me at once. It's
Right.
like it goes back through my life. And so you have to really go back and look and be like, well, wait, where did this start? How far back does this really go? And a lot of people don't ever do that. We don't ever reflect sort of inwards and compare ourselves to something else. We just compare it to what we know.
I find just a continuation of what you were talking about there, Brian. I do find, like, for transformational coaching, instead of just getting with a client and saying, okay, what can I do for you now, and be your accountability partner, but transformational, you'll actually delve into things in the past that may be affecting you or creating a block today for you to go to that next level. But there's also a lot of complacency. People become comfortable in society. They don't think it'll happen to them, and you just become complacent. It happens. I've been a martial artist for a great many years, and yes, some days I have the spider senses tingling, and I know that something might be coming down the block or in an alley or something, so I avoid that. But there's other times that in all honesty, I start texting on my phone. I forget where I am. I have to look up and actually understand what store I just walked into, and it becomes complacent. And I think a lot of the people nowadays, it's, there's a lot of distractions that cause complacency. And then, of course, as you highlighted, Brian, there's a lot of upbringing stuff that, throughout life, you go through that. And then all of a sudden, one day you wake up and say, wow, where am I, right?
So to dovetail, Adam, on what we just heard, great comments from both Vic and Brian. When we hear complacency and complacency kills, and we see the signage, most people don't understand that complacency is a very different definition than they think it is. Complacency means that I'm operating at a speed that I'm so comfortable with, I don't think I need improvement. And therefore, what's happening is I'm getting through my day just fine. And that could actually speak towards the situation you were talking about. It's sort of two sides of the same coin, because Vic brought up accountability and Brian brought up consequences, and those are hugely important. So if we're running and we think we're running in the green, but we're actually running in the red, all of that residual damage that we're doing starts adding up. And that's why, like, to use a car metaphor, that's why we get the carburetor fouling, and that's why the engine's not running right, and we got to go in for calibration sometimes, right? So a coach is that caliper that's testing for those tolerances and helping fix you. And when you're in a situation where you don't know you need fixed, as Brian alluded to, man, that's starting tabula rasa. You're now starting at ground level, trying to lift a very heavy weight, rather than having some motion and inertia already built up.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I really appreciate you guys' comments, and it really puts a light on the topic, because other clients I've worked with in the past in other jobs have been in those situations, and I can see the light of the tunnel where they need to go, and it's trying to put them on that path to say, look, take these steps. Because I can't do it all for them. It has to kind of be a 50-50, come from them as well. But like you said, it's reversing it back and looking at, what's happened earlier on. And I find that some people, it's been, a loss of a job and a breakdown of a relationship. And then that just compounds, like those two things, both around the same time.
Right.
Or, and there's obviously upbringing as well. But no, I appreciate your views on that topic. I'll go on to the next one. Is I was in the supermarket a few weeks ago, and they moved around the supermarket, and I could hear people kicking off. When I say kicking off, having a go at the members of staff, saying it's taking me longer to shop, and really, really pissed off. And I kind of found it amusing, watching this. I mean, why do you think people get like that in those kind of scenarios, or why they move things around?
Oh yeah, people hate change. We fear change. We fear any kind of change. We consistently look for familiarity. Our brain sets patterns once we're successful doing something, because it doesn't want to burn any more calories than it has to, because it's trying to keep you alive. And once it finds a way to do something, where to go and how to, it's just going to keep doing that. It goes, got it. I know how to do this. Next thing that I need to work on, because it wants to take new, novel environments and make them normal. It doesn't like things out of place, because this is tied back to your limbic systems, your survival system. This is what kept the human species alive, right? But we don't live in that world anymore, but we still have the same operating system, so it manifests itself in those ways. And people are not inherently adaptable. We're resistant to change, because change is it's hard. You don't know what's going to happen. Uncertainty, people are not comfortable with being with uncertainty. It's not, we don't like it as humans, so we look for that familiarity. So when you throw my world off, right, and I got to relearn something, now I got to burn extra mental calories, and man, I don't like that. And look, I've been coming here, I know where everything is. I wouldn't notice. I do a lot of shopping too at the grocery. I would notice, because I have it's like every time I'm in there, I do the zigzag all over the place. Oh, I got to go. Oh wait, I got to go back over there. Oh wait, no, that's over there. So I actually would have no idea if they changed anything around. But for people who do, it's like, yeah, that, because you know what you just did. Now it takes me 15 minutes in here, and normally only takes me 12. And that's 3 less minutes I have at home, where now I have to do this. Now I'm going to be a little bit late making dinner. And so that personally, I don't like that. So in general, all humans are like that. Now, how we handle it and respond to it depends on a number of factors. But just to be clear, no one likes that. No one likes it when they change the rules all of a sudden. When you come out and you say, well, no, left is right and right is left, and up is down. No, you can't do that to me, man. I just spent my whole life doing this. So it really does bother us. Now, what for you might be a minor inconvenience or you just think is interesting or go, oh, wow, they changed it over here. It doesn't bother you because you have the time to do that. You don't have something else going on. But when I got, a couple kids, that are screaming and I only have a few minutes and like, dude, you just rocked my whole world. So it's what, I'm walking around with that my glass is full at this point. And so, you know what, this is the one thing I'm going to bump into you and a little bit of that's going to spill out on you. I'm going to have my say, right here because I had to get off that chest. And that's a natural part that all people, so for you, it might not be like you sitting there with the grocery store thing going like, this is ridiculous. Like, who cares? But then you probably get really frustrated with some of the people you work with because you're like, how do you not see this? Like, are you kidding me? Like, and it bothers you that you're like, you know what I mean? You're like, oh my God, like this is so obvious. So we all have our little things, but yeah, we fear change. Humans do not like change.
I would add to that one that there's certain constants in life that we look forward to. And that's why Holiday Inn Express, all the hotels are exactly the same. That's why McDonald's all look the same. And the sandwiches, they pride themselves on coming out looking exactly the same. If we had a fridge that filled itself or an ass that wiped itself, we'd never leave the effing house. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Because we're risk averse as humans. And we have to be pushed to get out of the cave to look around a little bit. And then we crawl slowly with one foot still in the dark. And one of the things, like if you've ever gone into a store and you wonder why the cold stuff is all the way at the back, I got to go all the way through the store to get the milk. Well, that's ingenious because they want you to be able to get the cold stuff, then check out right away. It's the last thing that you'll get. So I would posit that this pattern attack is probably scheduled by the store to get you to pay more attention. Now, wait a minute, the cling peaches were here. Why is the tuna over there? And so now you're going to get exposed to new novel things and spend more money. Because now you're going to panic, right? And you're going to go, holy shit, I don't know where those things are. Where's bring on the quinoa. Something Greg's never said before. You might want to write that down. But I would agree with Brian. People hate change. And I would also say most of it's a marketing ploy. We're so lazy, we'll fall for it time and again.
Now in business, we take courses on this effective change management, and it's very true. You take a 20-year veteran of a factory and just turn around and turn their machine upside down and say run it, that it shocks them, and you get no productivity. You get a lot of I guess you could say headbutting. So through effective change management, that's where you start the communication avenues. And in business, you want to inform the employees, explain what you're doing, get their input back and forth. And then once you've got most of the buy-in, obviously you're never going to have 100% buy-in unless it's like everybody gets a new car or something. But once you have everybody's buy-in, then you effectively go through the change and you mitigate any risks to the customer at the end. But yes, it can be a very daunting task because people are set in their ways.
Yeah, and Vic, if you guys indulge me back to the martial arts metaphor, the whole reason that there's katas is to make sure that you're learning precisely the series of moves that have affected the people before you. One, some of them are stretches. Two, some of them are act out a historic battle. But most of them are to perfect a specific move in a specific situation, and that's part of your rehearsal, right? Why? Because there's a pattern, and once you catch on to the pattern, you go, okay, I can do this on my own. And so if you are going to truly be resilient, you have to welcome those type of minor changes because they'll make you smarter, broader, and resilience breeds resilience. You'll be much better the next time you encounter that type of threat. It's an existential threat, but it's a threat nonetheless.
Yes, exactly.
No, I totally agree, and I appreciate you guys' views on the topic. And it makes me think about, because I started doing CrossFit again after a couple of years, and each time I go, the exercises are all different. They're never really the same. They're very rarely the same, and there's some that I'm absolutely useless at. and it's hard and it's tricky. And what Brian was saying, you kind of it takes more calories, doing things that you are new. And I did one the other day, and it was these pull-up things on a bar, but it was the overarm one, which I've never done, and I couldn't do them. And the guy had to get some elastic band to shove my leg in to give me more buoyancy, and I couldn't even do it with that. And he's laughing his
Right.
head off, but I felt more mentally tired than, do you know what I mean? Like, as well as, because it was new, and yet it requires more thinking. So like, yeah, we like patterns, and we like things that, are the same. But I
But that,
appreciate your,
that
yeah.
you brought up a good example there with working out, and specifically like hypertrophy and growing muscle. I mean, that's the whole point, is you overload it and your body goes, shit, we better get stronger, man. This guy keeps putting more weight on the bar. I mean, in a sense, that's how you develop those muscles. Now it's also through proper training and diet and all that stuff. But that's the whole idea behind the strength behind it, is that that's your body adapting. It's going, okay, I got to learn to handle this because this guy doesn't stop doing this. And so what does it do? You get stronger, and all of those movements get easier over time. And then you're doing stuff that you realize, you look back a few years ago, holy crap, like I'm just throwing this weight around like it's nothing. And, before that would have crushed my soul. That's just adaptation. That now it's
Right.
for a specific purpose, but that's your body adapting. And so and then what happens? A lot of people get addicted to that because you do all that hard work, and man, you see and feel and notice results from it, and you're like, holy crap, like it's instant feedback that you get. And through hard work, your body learns, like, holy crap, I can do this. And what does it make you want to do? Now, once I got that, damn, I want to get that next thing. Now you're going to go from pull-ups. Now I want to do those muscle ups. Now I want to do them on the bar. Now I want to do them in the ring. Like you start doing that because your body gets that reward. But that's a great example of adaptation. That's something that everyone can notice, right? Whether it's losing weight or gaining muscle or whatever, like that's your body adapting, going, okay, well, this guy is throwing this stuff at me, or this is what's happening in the environment. I better learn because this isn't stopping.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. And your brain is a muscle. We all know that. One of the reasons that we all like to get together is that we're like-minded in some of the activities that we perform, jointly or away, or that we help others perform. And when you talk about that type of a metaphor, it's no different than reading a book. Reading has got to be part of what you do to clear out some of the old shit and get some new stuff in there. And now we also have to act out those things. So going to that store, even though we don't want to, and then going and pulling surveillance in a parking lot to remember those threats do exist, that you don't, but the TV is mesmerizing. That's where we get the term auto mesmer. We watch TV and we disappear. We're not paying attention anymore. And the things that we attend to continue to get smaller and smaller, and we're not challenged anymore. So some of the folks that you encounter, Adam, aren't cerebrally challenged enough. Some aren't physically challenged enough. Some aren't morally challenged enough. So is it society's, do we need to step in? And clearly the courts do. Yeah. So when the courts step in, they don't give much of a choice. It's this, my way or the highway. But what we're trying to say is that you can build out of that by improving yourself, improving your stake a little bit at a time.
Yeah, that's it. And I think it's, a lot of the time it's people feeling met and understood. I think, and a lot of people that I work with have never really had that. And I'm there, open arms, kind of like, I get you, I see what's going on. And just listening to them, I think, is a big thing as well. Like you said, that compounds.
That's profound. It's profound, because look, everybody wants to be heard. From the top 5 for our side, most people want their say, not their way. And if you give them their say, you're going to get a lot further. And where does that hail back to? Let's go right back to martial arts. Let's go back to de-escalation. Brian's comment, go on, and people run out of gas early, and then everything's better, rather than have to resort to defense or offense constantly. And those urban mentality, folks in an urban setting have a form of PTS where they resort to that. They have a chip on their shoulder eternally, because every other time they didn't, somebody knocked them down. So they only expect that in the future. You got to change that cycle early.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I've seen that with some people I've worked with, and they're just always on that defense, and things have never worked out. And it's that tick is constantly going 24/7, and you know, a lot of people I've worked with, you know, they're on the move. That they don't stay in one place. They have to move because they're afraid something might happen to them or whatever. And half the time, nothing's going to happen to them. It's
Exactly.
just, like you said, that stuff in the past.
Yep. And it's profound. I mean, it's so powerful that you have to address it. Either you address it or it will address you during your life. And it'll manifest itself in horrible ways. You're not going to eat right, or you're not going to sleep right, or you're going to smoke too much, or you're going to smoke crack, or you're going to beat your wife or beat your kids or want to get beaten by your wife. All of those things are manifestations of you failing to solve, not you failing, but you failing to solve a problem that has now grown to such proportion that you just need help.
No, I agree. I'll go on to the next one. I think, was it doing things that challenges? Was that the next one I mentioned? Why
Talking
sometimes
about
gas stations.
Gas stations.
sorry, gas
Brian's
stations.
favorite
That was
topic
it.
in the whole world.
Yeah, gas stations. Yeah, like because I've sent Brian some crazy videos. Sorry if I send you some crazy. I sent him these videos like gas stations. There's one I sent you with this guy who's had a machete, and they're both fighting in a gas station in broad daylight with machetes. These two guys, and I've always seen when I've been filling up petrol. We call it petrol over here, or gas, and I've seen like people want to push in front of you. I always let people go because I've got a small car. But it's like a sense of tension just getting in the spot to fill up your fuel. I mean, why is it things happen in these places, in takeaway shops at night time and stuff like that? It seems to attract certain kinds of people. I don't know why.
Well, it's a very, very simple answer, actually, because they're convenient, which is why some of them are called convenience stores here in the US. It's their gas stations, those small shops are in a location where it's easy to get to, right? That's how they make money. They have to be in like near major roadways, near major highways, interstates, whatever, or you know, whatever you guys call them over across the pond there. But the idea is it has to be where a high volume of traffic is coming through. So it's easy, it's convenient to get to, which means it's convenient for anyone to get to, right? And so the idea is it's going to attract, you know, that type of person who's hanging around, who's got time on their hands, because they know, one, you have to come there and you're stuck. You're not going anywhere until you fill up, right? So you're there in that location and there's nothing you can do. You're not leaving until you're done. So that means if I want to beg for money or if I want to steal something from you, you're a great target for me. And then two, like, and it's just got a lot of cheap stuff in it. So I can get something to, you know, I can get a pack of smokes, I can get something cheap to drink, I can get, you know, the hot dog on the roller that's been sitting there for 3 days, you know, whatever it is. But I can do all that in that location. So if I'm a criminal, I've got access to my victims, I've got access to cheap food, and it's in a convenient area, which means I have access to good, like a getaway area. It's not going to be in a place that's going to stick out. So it's just because of the geographic location, because of what it's designed for, it's not only good for you as a consumer to go to and get in and out, but it's also easy for anyone else to go in there. And I'll leave it at that as a very, very simple answer, because there's a lot more you could elaborate on it, but I'll let Greg probably add on to that.
No, and you guys stimulate me. So I got a full page of notes from everything you guys talk about, and I could go on for hours. Brian's right, because your instincts were correct, Adam, but what you said is, why does it attract certain people? A gas station attracts everybody. We all have to go there. And that's not true of a library. That's not true of a zoo. That's not true.
Not true of an office building. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So what happens is now you have a neck in your funnel, and where that neck gets tight, everybody's there, right? And you're somehow different because you brought cash or a credit card or a car. The door is open on the car. You're filling it with gas. So when I steal it, it's got a nice full gas. Maybe you even brought some treats from inside for me. And the idea is that this convenient way of committing a robbery, you for a long time, Adam, you supplemented your income by doing deliveries, right? You do deliveries in your own private car. That's great, because all I got to do is call up and you come to me for the robbery. You bring the robbery with you, you know? And like, if you think about things like at an airport where a person, they want to be acknowledged for their status. So on their luggage, they got a tag that says I'm a platinum member, I'm a gold member or something. If you're the right type of person, when you stop to get gas in that rental and I see your bags in the car, I think, hey, he's from out of town and He's got a bunch of money because he's got a high status, which means he's probably got 3 or 4 different types of credit cards. And I see him buying gas, which is expensive. So all of those things complicate the issue. Terrorists and criminals are constantly looking for an angle. And that angle, that access, that opening, all they got to do is put the narrow end of the wedge in and then just give a gentle push, because you're not paying attention. You're in a hurry and it's convenient. So great point.
And just a side point, Brian, I'm the guy that buys those 3-day-old hot dogs, and I like them.
That's great. That's great.
The Circle K near me had a deal going one time. It was a hot dog and a can of Monster, and it was like only a couple bucks. And I was like, "This is the greatest lunch deal ever." Get in there, get a hot dog, throw some like, little mustard packet on there, slam my Monster. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Well, you're even more at risk though, Vic, because you're usually gassing up your motorcycle. The good thing is that most criminals either don't know how to drive a motorcycle, so the learning curve is too steep. Because how many times have we seen people get carjacked that have a manual transmission and then never get out of the parking lot, and then the foot chase is on. But, you just have to tune in to a special part. Again, being a martial artist, what does a martial artist do? A martial artist is going to drive around the gas station and check out the pumps before they pull in. They're going to take a look inside and see if anybody's just outside or lingering in a dark space, and then they'll pick another gas station, man. And you know what? Most humans don't do that, because humans are going, what are the chances I'm going to be a victim? And the same thing is coming out of the mouth of the criminal. What are the chances they're going to be a victim? So you just don't want to be a victim. I'd rather not be an opponent either. I know that sounds, I'm a pacifist. So I don't want to have to fight you, because if I fight you, I'm going to kill you. And so the idea is that I want to try to get through life with as little of those aberrations as possible. And that's one of the places you really got to tune in.
Yeah, when I'm out on my bike, I try to generally I try to go to the most crowded gas stations. I have had some areas where you go to that gas station that's got the extra cheap gas, but late at night you're the only one there. And like I said, sometimes you get the spider senses tingling. Yeah, you can get in, get your gas, get out, but just something just unsettling was there. So
Right.
I do like to go to the more popular gas stations where there's, probably 20 people there at any given time. Is it safer? No, not necessarily. Like, crime can happen everywhere. Crime can happen crimes recently have happened right in our biggest malls in the middle of the day. They'll go in and do a smash and grab at the jewelry store and deke out with security chasing them at 1:00 in the afternoon. But, it just, to me, I feel there's less chance of something happening. And yeah, you're right. On the motorcycle, it's not many people know how to do it. Plus, inevitably, if you have training such as I do, that helmet is beautiful. That's one of the most perfect weapons.
You do some damage with
that.
It's Mad Max the Road Warrior. He does the little circle with the bike, and
away you go.
That's great. So hey, Brian, sense memory quick for Brian. San Diego, location of the Casbah, heading in to drop off the rental car to go to the airport at 3:00 in the morning. How many times have we been there, tired as hell, got to pull in, and there's throngs of street folks right around there, inches, feet away from you as you're sitting there trying to get gas in the rental. Every single time that I went through there, I love San Diego. I love everything about it. But every time I came back in that condition at those times, I was always thinking I'm going to get ganked right here. And it hasn't happened. Thank God, because I usually have my guardian angel with me who's walking around the back of the car and making a big target while I'm trying to pump, or vice versa. So you remember that, right, Brian? The Casbah, that little gas station,
it's still there. It's still there.
Oh my God. So I get nightmares about that.
Yeah, there's some petrol station, we call them petrol stations, but gas stations are pretty sketchy. I mean, I live in a rural area, and there's some stations I just wouldn't go to because it is in the middle of nowhere. A bit like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or the Hills of Eyes. These places are just remote, and like you said, the fuel's cheap. And I remember going.
You're going to get calls. You're going to get complaint calls from cannibals now. Yeah, I just want you to know. So you don't understand DEI. You got to be okay with that. But they even call them stop and robs here. When you come over to visit, You have to understand, we had a great friend from Saudi Arabia that was going to get married and come over, and our dear friend Martin was going to help Moo with his wife plan all these different adventures. And Martin, spent so much time here in the States from London. And he says, oh, and you want to go to Pennsylvania. And then the next thing we want to do is go to Miami. And then when you come out, spend a night or two in Denver, and then go up to Los Angeles and maybe up to San Francisco. And what he was hitting is right just after COVID, where the worst crime rates were going and all the homicides were spiking and stuff. Man, you got to play that wave a little bit. There's nights, I bet from you driving around in your own town, Adam, you know what night not to go to the pub, right? So I bet you know what night not to go to the gas station.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've just had one of the biggest festival. Is it festival? They have like a 3-day festival where they have lots of sellers who come and sell produce like cheese, milk. They have farm animals. It's massive, 100,000 people. I think 120,000 people were meant to come this year. So it was 3 days. It was Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And I was working last Thursday doing deliveries. And I just sat in my car and there was people, in and out of the takeaway. They're allowed to go in this place from 9:30 in the morning to drink. It finishes at 6 o'clock. A lot of the people who finished the event had been drinking all day, and then they go into the pubs in town. Some guy got his nose broken in one of the pubs. There was an ambulance outside on the street. There was people in and out of the takeaway talking all kinds of stuff. One guy fell out with his friend and said, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna sort him out." His mates were trying to calm him down. And they had this big influx of people who'd been drinking all day. And I just stayed in my car. I was like, I'm not getting involved with anyone who's on the street. But that was, yeah, but I picked that up and I just thought it's not worth it.
Yeah, look, how is that not a segue into the final topic that you wanted to talk about today? Why do people act so stupid or make stupid decisions on holidays, which we call vacations? We call that petrol in the United States. But look, instant asshole, just add alcohol. We all know that. We all know what that means. And the idea is that many people can hold it together. But I remember, early in my cop career, finding out about cocaine, and the idea was that you would see people that were on cocaine, and they said, "Oh, that makes them more mellow." No, it enhances what you were. And if you were cool, you were Cool Hand Luke. If you were a dick, you were the biggest dick at the party, and you could tell right away which people had been in county or the lockup, and which people get pounded on their face many times because they can't keep their mouth shut, right? So now you've got that, and now you're on vacation. So now you have entitlement because you think that you're owed something. Look, I only travel for work, and so when I'm flying, I'm single-minded of purpose. But I'm surrounded by jerks that have been drinking at the airport all day. Now they're on the flight and they're going like, "Where are you headed?" And I go to work. And they're like, "Well, you're no fun. You smoke dope?" And I'm like, "Oh shit," because I fly back to Denver and everybody's going to, get high because it's legal there. And so they give me their entire life and their agenda. And it's like, look, I'm going on a holiday or a vacation one time. And when I do, I don't want to be around a bunch of that, raucous personalities and aggressive people. I've outgrown that. I think it was Missouri or Kansas that just had a bar or a pub or a restaurant that said now you have to be 30 years old or older to go because people don't want a black eye. They don't want to have to, a fight break out on the dance floor. And generally when people are older and people are moderate in their excesses, you can have a pretty good time. And we don't make choices when we're having good choices are rare when we're having fun and we've been partying.
Yeah, there's a bar right outside of Camp Pendleton in the town of San Clemente that used to say their sign out there said, no, we do not accept out of state IDs or military IDs. So basically what they're saying is this is locals only. Yep. You're stationed out here. We know you have a driver's license from wherever you're from, and we're not letting you in here.
Right.
That's for that reason,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the other thing too is like, especially, when you're on holiday, you're on vacation, that's it. That's your time. You're just like, you're not thinking like you normally would. You don't have as much stuff to do. You're there to have fun, right? You're careless about stuff because you feel like that's your time to do that. But if you add alcohol to that situation, right, you start doing, and then a bunch of other of your friends with you, right, you start doing some really really stupid stuff. And that's the thing, is like, you don't realize it at the time. You're not taking into account you're in a new area. You're just doing what you normally do. You don't know the local area very well. You don't know who's who in the zoo, right? You're acting differently than you otherwise would in your own backyard. And yeah, you give up some of your agency. You kind of let yourself go, and you don't make good decisions because you're just, oh, we're just having fun on vacation. It's like, yeah, you still have to keep it together, man. Like, you can't just do whatever you want. But yeah, no, that happens all over the world, and people just we call it the happy head, right? You get dumb, and you just, because you're not thinking of any of that stuff. You've completely let yourself go. You don't have your normal, wow, I shouldn't do this, or safety, parameters in place anymore. It's all gone because you're on vacation.
Or
What's going to
bedtime.
happen?
Or bedtime, or any of the rules you
Yeah.
apply, even the diet type of stuff, and your sleep and your hydration, and the new place that you're at. And Brian said something I think deserves revisiting. When you think of the law, like careless driving or being careless with your self on a vacation, that comes from you could care less. And people don't break that word up and look at the etymology. You could care less. You're like, shit, it's 3 a.m. We should go and get some sleep. No, let's go out for breakfast. And then your breakfast, flashing your cash around, and something happens, or you get in a fight, or, how can somebody fall off an ocean liner? Have you seen an ocean liner? Have you seen how big they are? But the problem is that they've got opportunities for you to party on all decks, and it never closes. Those type of environments, Las Vegas, for example, those type of environments stretch us, and we think that we're smarter than the average bear, and we're not. And we will fall. The later we stay up, we're going to make dumb mistakes. The more we drink, we're going to make dumb mistakes. And then we complicate things by going out with friends that are going, come on, man. How many of your friends do you do that? I say, I'm not drinking tonight, or I'll be the designated, whatever. Come on. And next thing you know, you're smoking meth. So well, come on.
Yeah,
we've all been there, right?
It's a slippery slope.
It's a fast drop for me.
I
do what I call the Kevin Spacey. Okay. I have my first beer, and the next thing is I'm sleeping with like 3 underage men and doing fentanyl. I have no control whatsoever. That's a lie, by the way. That was all a very poor joke. Maybe.
Yeah. Every time I go back in my history, every time I've really let loose, I've gone to Mexico, and I've been arrested twice in Mexico. But the really cool part about that country is, I have a friend come over and starts paying the bills.
They'll drive you.
I like the pickup truck with the roll cage, and you're sitting there like this.
Oh my gosh!
They'll drive you to the ATM in Mexico. The police will drive you to the ATM.
Yeah.
So,
folks, Vic is telling you about a homicide.
Party like this again, and
right.
Next time I go to Mexico, I'm just drunk as a skunk.
Wow. Yeah, but see, that's why vacations appeal to us, right? We plan for. I always put myself in the mind of when Shell and I owned the ranch, and people would spend all year long looking at photos of the ranch, and we'd send them brochures in the mail. That's how old I am. And people would open it up, and they would put it on their desk at work, and they would dream about it. Only 8 more months, and we'll be there. Well, that's a big, rock that we're pushing uphill. And then all of a sudden we get there, and we don't want to waste any time. We want to dive right in and do all kind of things. And so we don't temper our enthusiasm as well as we should. And those are the times, again, I'm not a killjoy. I like to have fun. But those are the times that we need to reassess, man. 2 times. What's the record going to be, Vic? Because clearly you're not stopping going to Mexico. Are you going to stay till they take your passport? What's going on, man?
Yeah, I always make a joke with my friends. I say, you want to go to Cuba or Colombia with me, and I'll show you how to get deported from a country. And they all laugh. Yeah, but generally both big incidents for me, it was basically I was the white guy in a bar, and I'm sitting here saying I'm a Canadian, I'm fun, don't worry about it, buying a few people drinks, but then they start pushing you around, and the gringo this, gringo that, and after a few alcoholic beverages, you get the balls of steel, and you don't give a shit that you're in a country where somebody can take you out back and shoot you.
You're very vulnerable. You're vulnerable, and you think I'm staying at a good hotel, and don't worry about it. I'm just a block away, and it could happen fast.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've seen some pretty freaky stuff down there, and it's, at the end of the day, you come back and you kind of reassess and think, damn, you know, maybe I shouldn't drink as much. Maybe next time I'll go straight to a resort, because I
Yeah.
never stay at resorts. I go inland and check the places out. And I've been in some pretty crazy places. My friends, a lot of them are police officers, which I found out later. The police down there, there's a fine line between cartel and cops. It seems like they're all in bed together. And some days
Yeah.
I kind of reflect on it and wonder how I
you made it.
so
Yeah.
far.
Now, listen, Brian and I have spent a significant amount of time in the Middle East, and there were more beheadings in Mexico than anywhere that we had served in the Middle East. And it was just a du jour. That's just the go-to. And so, Vic, I'm telling you, next time you go, Brian and I want to watch and we want to film it. We'll have it as part of our travel series that we're going to do.
Here's what not to do.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to be doing this the whole time. Like in the big circle and arrow.
I remember one morning I was so hungover and they wanted to take me for a menudo in Guadalajara. And we were going, and menudo is basically like tripe.
Yeah.
It's a tripe soup, and it's supposed to sober you right up. And we're driving underneath a bridge, and I looked up, and there's 3 bodies hanging from the bridge. And I pointed out to my friend, I said, like, what the heck is that? And he's like, oh, cartel, got 3 more. No big deal. To them, it doesn't even faze them anymore. But to me, it was like that shock value, like, what the hell?
Right. And we're right back, Mobius loop, right back to failing to see the situation you're in because you're actually too close. And you're talking about an expert too, Adam. You're talking about a SME, a subject matter expert in life and in martial arts and in business and so much. So Vic's not a pushover, but he allowed himself, okay, whether intentionally or unintentionally, he allowed himself to become vulnerable in an area. That's Marin 101. Because when we were in Mexico City, Marin was trying to join a cartel, I feel. On the last day where I was trying to get to the airport, Marin kept texting me. I said, text me when you get to the hotel. Just want to buddy check. And he's sending me photos, and he was under the bridge at some street taco place with a dozen people I'd never seen before, and there was at least 1 AK in most of the photos that I was seeing. And I never did, I'm at the airport, send me more. And he's like waving, and I'm like, okay, he's going to be fine. He bounces back very well.
Yeah. Thinking Bogota, I almost joined the FARC in my Uber ride back to the hotel. I didn't even know, but that one got interesting too. Yeah, well, just got to do it the right place and make sure you have your different whatever guardian angel in place. Make sure someone's watching out for you. So,
tacos must have been nice. Or what you buy must have been nice.
Yeah. The under the bridge, Mexico City, 2:30 in the morning, eating tacos. That was an interesting experience. I was like, I hope this doesn't come back to haunt me, but they were so good, and they didn't. Yes. I was actually fine, so it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we lost Greg here. I think his internet cut out. Looks like it. Well. Oh man, what else did we have here to cover, Adam? I don't know. I think that was everything you brought up. But the stupid decisions that affects us, man. That's the same thing. You get that happy head, even familiar places. I mean, that's the gas station thing. Everyone tunes out because you go to a gas station all the time, and then that's where you're most likely to get victimized. How many times, especially here in the U.S., someone robbed at a gas station, or a gas station being robbed, or a car stolen, or I mean, it could be something as simple as there's a drug deal going on over there because that's where they chose to meet, and it goes bad. It's there's a million things that even had nothing to do with whatever the situation is. You just happen to be in the middle. But there was one in Texas not long ago too, where it was like there was an argument over someone was there to like meet someone to like buy something off Craigslist, like a dog or something like that, and they got heated and started shooting at each other. And it's like, so you're just sitting there pumping gas. These people over there doing some Craigslist, meetup deal, and that goes bad. And it's like it was a legal thing that escalated to the point of violence. And since it's Texas and everyone has guns, you're pumping gas and now you're getting shot up because of it. I mean, and we don't expect those things. We don't tune up because how many times have you been to a gas station and nothing ever happened? Yet that's the number one place where things always happen. But no, and it's just another example of how we kind of get a little dumber in those familiar places.
No, I agree. It is wild because I've seen some clips, where things like that happen. And like you said, I think that big thing's like complacency, isn't it? And kind of tuning out. And I always kind of look around, look at the exit points and the entry points so I go places. And where could I go if if
Yeah.
something happened?
You
And
always look for an out. I always do the gas station. It's good if you can do a drive around it first and then pull up. You know what I mean? Just to look inside. You don't have to go and look inside before you walk inside. You could be walking into an armed robbery and not even know it.
mm,
All that stuff. Complacency is a normal function of the brain.
mm,
It's going to happen to it. It has to in order to survive. It has to burn less calories. So you become complacent no matter what. And so that's one of those places where that can happen. Adam, you just turned to the side. You did like a 90-degree turn.
did I? Oh, it's
Actually,
because
like
I'm on
this.
my phone. Oh, there we go.
Oh,
It's because I was just sending Greg the link on WhatsApp.
yeah, I think he said the internet went. He sent me a
Oh,
text. He said internet went down. They got a bad storm.
it's
So
okay. But I think there was just one thing that I forgot to mention. Because I was in the office the other day, and the office that I'm in, there's always drama, and there's always stuff with clients kicking off. And I was in the office, and it was really quiet, and I felt quite at peace. But somewhere in me, I don't know where it came from, something said, this isn't normal. And then literally 5 minutes later, an argument happened. Two clients were like about to go at it 2 feet away from me. But what do you know when you get that feeling? I mean, you must
yeah,
have had that in the military.
yeah. Well, that
You
what
go
you're
to
taught.
places that don't seem
So
okay.
so you have natural, human instinct that, you literally have a limbic system, you have amygdala that's constantly sensing your environment for danger, and it's picking up on things sort of unconsciously that you're not really consciously aware of. And then you have like your sort of intuition, so stuff that you've learned, like, wait a minute, like normally it's kind of some hustle and bustle in here, quiet, that's odd, right? That there's something incongruent here that doesn't make sense. And then all of a sudden, something kicks off. What that is there is that feeling or mood that goes out, and you can see it or feel it or sense it like that sometimes right before something happens, where unconsciously you're aware of something and your brain's going, hey, pay attention. That's one of those things where you have to be like, hey, stop what you're doing, look around, listen, smell, find out what it is, because you are aware of those things. That you can become aware of those things in the environment if you're tuned in, like you knew at that point something doesn't fit right here. Like me walking in, I would have no idea, right? Because I don't know baseline for the area, so I would just think maybe this is normal. But you being there as someone that knows the ins and outs and what should be there and what shouldn't be there, just intuitively, right? You're sensing that, and that's when sometimes it's that complete lack of anything going on, is like, wait a minute, this might be something is about to build here, and it got real quiet before something catastrophic happens. You see that with fights, you see that with different attacks, where it's just like all of a sudden things get quiet, and it's like, why is it so quiet? It's like, yeah, no one's moving, no one's talking, because they're about ready to pounce. You know what I mean? I mean, just think about that in like the animal kingdom, almost like where the cougar out hunting will like pause and just go real still for a second, and then some of the animals start looking like, hey, wait a minute, and then it comes out seemingly out of nowhere. Well, your brain will pick up on that for you if you're tuned into your
Mm,
environment. It'll help you. And I always tell people, anytime you get that feeling, anytime you get that sense, stop what you're doing, take a second, take a minute, whatever it takes, stop, look, listen, and
mm,
smell, and just take in the environment and look and go, because you might be picking up on something. And maybe it's not as serious as that, it might not be a
mm,
terrorist attack, but it could be something as like that, someone about to get in an argument or something not right, or it could be even something where a coworker is not doing well because they're having difficulty with something and they're just
mm,
not being their normal self, and it's contributing to this feeling. So what you won't always know what it's going to be, and it's not
mm,
always like the worst thing in the world, but the better you get at that, now the sooner you intervene. Now you can be like, hey, what's going on? Hey, Vic, wait a minute, like, hey, normally
mm,
this time of day, we're shooting the shit and you're talking about this, like, everything good, man. And then you find out, oh, actually, so those little atmospheric shifts that we call them, like the feeling or mood of an area, man, that's a great indicator of something. And you can really get good at that when you know your environment. Like when I walk in
mm,
the house, like I know, depending on what time of day, what day of week is, like there's a feeling or there's a mood, there should be something in the air that I sense. And if I don't, there's something up, you know what I mean? And
mm,
the better you get at tuning into that stuff, the better you'll get at identifying sort of like pre-event indicators. Like you pick up on
Mm.
something before it happens, and now you intervene and see it, or now you get out of there, or now you talk to your coworker, whatever the situation is.
Mm. No, I appreciate your take on that.
I actually found when I was a bouncer in a nightclub for almost 15 years, you become very attuned to people's body language. And I would watch people and I would tell some of the other bouncers, you watch this guy over here, he's going to take a swipe at that guy over there. 15, 20 minutes later, there it went. You could just tell by the way he was talking to himself and, that left eye aggression and really just focusing on the other individual. And now I haven't been in bars in years. So,
well, unless in Mexico. So
Yeah.
The old Coyote Rojo in Guadalajara. I love that bar.
Oh man.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
No, but I appreciate your guys' time. I know it's almost like an hour, but
yeah, I'm gonna have to
I
get
know
going
you're,
here too.
yeah, but it's
I appreciate you having us on, Adam. It's always fun talking to you guys, and you too, Vic. It's always good to catch up. We always have a fun conversation. Hopefully the listeners like it. I feel like it's a more like it's like an episode for us than it is for them, but hopefully they're getting something out of it.
Yeah, of course. No, it's always great talking to you guys. I really appreciate your views. I really appreciate you talking about these topics and sharing your experiences and your intellect and views on things. And I'm really grateful for you all to be on the podcast. And I wish you all the best in everything you do. And I shall put in the notes where people can contact you.
Yeah, man, the Human Behavior Podcast, that's us. And you can the Human Behavior Podcast at gmail.com if you want, or our company, Arcadia Cognerati. Yeah, you can put all the links, put it in there, but we'll check it out and make sure you tag me in anything on social media so I can share it. And that way people, our folks can check it out as well.
Awesome, will do. And where can people find you, Vic?
You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all that stuff.
Oh, awesome. I'll do that. And I'll see you guys next time. Here we go.
Thanks a lot, Adam. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Adam. Later, bro.